All
And
right.
anyhow, I'll try to make it.
Welcome to our 30-minute live Q&A session. I'm Ify, your go-to immigration lawyer. Today, we're discussing the effects of your ongoing divorce on your green card application. So tune in and get ready to take notes because we're sharing some tips. All right, welcome on TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook. We're sharing some tips. And also, we have Denise here with us for our Spanish translations. So if you are here, welcome. Bienvenidos. Soy Ify, una abogada inmigración. I'm happy to have you here, and let's talk about it.
Muy bien.
Adelante, Denise.
Buenos días, estoy muy feliz de acompañarlos aquí. Voy a apoyarlos en todo para que puedan entender directamente a nuestra abogada, nuestra preciosa abogada. Y pues el tema del día de hoy va a ser cómo proceder con tu divorcio mientras ya tienes activa una petición para una green card. Bien, estamos listos y por favor no duden en dejarnos sus dudas aquí.
Sí, gracias. And just before I get into it, a quick reminder, if you're just joining in, I see people joining on Facebook and Instagram. Remember that in April, USCIS fees are going up. So if you qualify for any immigration application right now, make sure you're putting in your application because fees are going up. Okay, that's something that's happening. But on the brighter side, we have different promotions going on at the law firm. It is February, the month of love. It's cuffing season. It's also Valentine's. So we are here offering you 50% off your legal consultations. If you're married to a U.S. citizen, you're engaged to a U.S. citizen, this is the time to get a consultation, figure out your options to file a green card. So that's something exciting going on here at the law firm. So let's get into it.
Muy bien, entonces pues recuerden, estamos aquí para darles acceso a una promoción también, que tenemos 50% de descuento. Recuerden que también importante, las cuotas van a subir en el mes de abril, pero nosotros como sus abogados queremos apoyarlos. En el mes del amor los vamos a apapachar con una promoción con el 50% off, ¿ok? Entonces, siéntanse libres de llamarnos por ahí si tienen un caso de migración a través de matrimonio o que ya están comprometidos con su amado, pueden siempre acercarse a nosotros.
Muy bien, Denise. Estamos aquí because we're about to talk about what happens if you're getting divorced. So pay attention. If you're getting your green card through marriage, getting divorced is something that is always going to be on your mind. Well, obviously, you don't want to get divorced, right? But what if you get divorced, right? Because this is something that happens. We never can predict how a relationship will go. People often get divorced for different reasons. It might be just you lost interest, or there might even be abuse, different reasons. So what happens if you apply for a green card and you get a divorce? What happens? I'm going to discuss the possible complications that this could have on your application. So pay attention. Estamos aquí por muy importante. ¿Sí?
Muy bien, entonces, como comenta nuestra abogada, es muy importante poner atención en esta situación en la que si tú estás pasando por un divorcio y ya tienes un proceso para obtener tu permiso directamente, tu green card, hay que poner atención, son pasos muy específicos y es bien importante.
Gracias, Denise. The first point I'm going to talk about when it comes to getting a divorce during this process is that timing matters. Timing matters as to when the divorce is happening, okay? If you get a divorce, let's say you have a 2-year green card and you get a divorce before you get your final green card, that's going to be very important at that point because you have to have a reason what happened that led up to the divorce. Because remember, guys, your green card is based on a real marriage. If you don't have a bona fide marriage, you don't qualify for a green card. So timing matters. And if the divorce happens when your green card is already approved and maybe you're about to apply for your citizenship, that's also something to consider, because now would you qualify for 3 years or 5 years, right? Those are the things to consider when it comes to divorce and green card. It doesn't automatically mean you lose your green card, but there are things you have to pay attention to, right? Because, it all depends. Timing matters, all right? Muy bien.
Muy bien, pues entonces el primer punto a explicar aquí sería el tiempo y la forma en la que el divorcio sucede. El tiempo porque si tú tienes una green card que te la han dado o que está por aprobarse de solamente 2 años y empiezas un proceso de divorcio, eso para ellos es a tomar en cuenta, ya que recordemos, la visa o la green card a partir del matrimonio está basada en una relación real de humanos, que haya sido de verdad por amor. Entonces ellos van a preguntar y había que probar. Es importante también si te estás divorciando cuando ya aprobaron tu green card, pero hay que saber qué tipo de green card. Recuérdate de nuevo, el tiempo es importante. Si tienes tu green card de 3 años o solamente de 5, es importante también saber eso. Ellos van a requerir saber por qué te estás divorciando y si es posible seguir con tu petición.
Gracias, Denise. That was a great explanation, because this is going to lead me to point number 2, which is potential denial after you get a divorce. So this is very important, guys. If you're applying for your green card through marriage, this is something you definitely need to know. So point number 2 that could happen to you if you're applying is potential denials, all right? If you don't have enough evidence in your first application, you didn't have enough evidence of bona fide relationship, USCIS might, see, like, maybe suspect your marriage, because how did you get married and just divorced so soon? And what was the reason? Like I said in my first point, these things happen, but there has to be a good reason as to the timing. Because if it's a removal of condition type of situation and you're divorcing after you get your 2-year green card, USCIS wants to know what happened. If you, as the non-citizen, caused the whole situation, maybe infidelity or, I don't know, like just financial stuff or even abuse or whatever that is, that may impact your good moral character, which is a requirement for your U.S. citizenship. And so it's going to cause some issues down the line. You may not get denied right away, right? But these are some of the things that we see that cause delays, especially in removal of conditions, because you just don't have, the marriage is just not strong enough based on the evidence you submitted at first, and now you're already divorced. So they're just like, let's just give you some time. And then, now we're here. So let us know, Denise. Muy bien. Escucha.
Discúlpame, I'm sorry, I was taking my notes. Muy bien, esto nos lleva al punto número 2. Como decíamos, si no tienes suficiente pruebas de que tu relación fue real, para ellos el tiempo, te van a ver que tienes muy poco tiempo casado y que apenas estás haciendo tu solicitud. Ello puede llevar a que la USCIS nos vea como sospechosos directamente de haber tratado de manipular el proceso. Entonces, es importante probar que nuestra relación fue real. Y también algo, si se están divorciando por parte de que la responsabilidad es de la persona que no es de Estados Unidos, la que quiere emigrar, es muy probable que el proceso se detenga y que para ellos la relación haya sido de un vínculo débil, no sirva para emigrar a Estados Unidos.
Gracias, Denise. This is point number 3, unconditional green cards. I've been mentioning that a lot the whole time we're talking, because the most scenarios that I see when it comes to divorce, and the most people that call me about divorce, they already have their green card, is usually like, what happens, to that green card, and they haven't gotten the 10-year one. So that's what I see a lot. So point number 3, if you have a conditional green card, there's specific things you have to think about. Generally, there's an abuse waiver that you don't need to file with your spouse if things are just not working out for whatever reason, but the marriage was real, right? So that's what you would consider, first of all, like, what was the reason for the divorce, right? That's essentially the only way, because when you get to the interview and your spouse is not there, your spouse didn't sign, they're going to now ask, what is the evidence that you've been gathering the whole time? If you watch my live on Tuesday, we talked about what to do while your application is pending. And this is exactly the reason why, for conditional green card situations where something like this could potentially happen, and you don't have enough evidence to prove that the marriage was real during the time that you were married, except there was abuse, right? When it comes to abuse, that's something that is a little bit different. Even if you haven't divorced, you can still file a waiver and get your permanent green card, okay? That's completely different from divorce. Divorce has to have a good reason. Usually, the courts will be like, they can grant you divorce for just irreconcilable differences, just like a general thing on there. That's fine. But when it comes to immigration and bona fide relationship, the quickness, the timing, what stage you're at in your immigration process all matters. And now if you're a conditional permanent resident, you have your 2-year green card, you have to be extra cautious at that point. All right. Muy bien.
Muy bien, entonces tenemos aquí el punto número 4. Los escenarios más comunes por los que buscan a los abogados es precisamente eso, en donde ya está el proceso iniciado, pero ellos tienen una green card condicionada por tiempo, porque no se les extendió más. Entonces, lo primero sería probar que la relación fue real y las razones del divorcio. Una vez que tú estás en la entrevista, ellos van a preguntar por qué tu esposo no está presente, por qué no firmó, y si tú no tienes suficiente evidencia para probar que la relación era real, eso también puede detener el proceso. A menos, es importante notar, si está sufriendo un abuso por parte del ciudadano americano, eso es completamente un caso distinto. Hay formas en las que tú puedes llenar para que de todas maneras se te dé la green card, el permiso. Sería cuestión de proveer pruebas del abuso, acompañarse de un abogado precisamente. Y entonces, pues, recalcar, es el tiempo, sobre todo, en el que se encuentra tu proceso de la green card para saber cómo va a proceder tu divorcio y si vas a poder obtener tu petición.
Gracias, Denise. That's definitely leading us to our point number 4 of proving a legitimacy of the marriage, because I heard you mention those things, especially when it comes to removing conditions. But now, what kind of evidence are you going to use to prove that the marriage was real to begin with? In the beginning, when you have a new marriage, you can get away with maybe some photos and affidavits. Maybe you don't even have a lease, right? Because you just met each other, you fell in love, you can get away with those things. But now there's a removal of condition. How do you prove legitimacy of the marriage? That's point number 4. That's something you definitely need to pay attention to if you're getting a divorce from your U.S. citizen spouse. Okay, the answer is not to stay in an abusive relationship or stay in a relationship that does not serve you anymore. That's not the answer, because most immigrants might think they need to just keep on being married just so they can finish the process. That's going to even make it harder, because there's no, how can you even get evidence of a legit relationship where you're barely speaking to your spouse? You're just resenting each other and you're just there for the green card stuff, so that's essentially what it is. And just as a side note, I see a lot of comments coming in on TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook. I see you, and I'm going to get to the questions at the end. Right now, we're talking about what happens if you're getting your green card through marriage and you end up getting a divorce. Okay, this is a very important topic, muy importante. So we're definitely discussing the different things to look out for. I'm getting to the last one, and then we'll get into your questions. But we have Denise here also helping us with interpretation and translation. So if you have any questions in Espanol, feel free to ask, and you will get your responses. Okay? Gracias. Muy bien, Denise.
Muchas gracias. Muy bien. Entonces, pues sería lo último, el tipo de evidencia para que puedas probar sería que tengas todo en forma, que esté realmente bien cimentado, porque cuando es un matrimonio nuevo, te puedes librar de muchas pruebas con pequeñas evidencias, ¿no? Fotos aquí, fotos allá, mensajes, pero en un proceso de divorcio en el que ya llevas un proceso también de solicitud de green card, es más necesario tener algo más sólido. ¿Por qué? Para ellos es importante ver que tú realmente necesitabas venir a reunirte con tu familia por una relación real, pero la opción, perdón, la diferencia sería que estés pasando por un abuso. Eso lo hace más difícil para ti. No te quedes en una relación de abuso solamente para tratar de emigrar. Hay una manera para ti de salir de esa relación abusiva y quedarte con tu papel. Es un proceso que se puede hacer real de la mano de nuestro abogado.
Gracias, Denise. And before I get to the final point, number 5, I'm going to give you some examples of documents that the USCIS expects from people who have been married for 2 years, all right? So if you've been married for 2 years or less than 2 years, you get the temporary green card. And when it's time for you to remove conditions, USCIS expects to see a lot of commingled financial records. Because for the past 2 years, you've been living together, right? Sharing your bills, right? So you should have commingled financial records to prove that. And if you haven't, then there should be a reason. Sometimes financial abuse, because I have a client, I'm working on her case right now. She told me we opened an account like 2 or 3 times. I had to close it because my husband, is addicted to crack. I was like, what's crack? But she, it was, she was like, because any money I put in there, even if it's $20, he would take it. So if you have a spouse, if you're dealing with someone, even though you're still married and they have issues with addictions and you're not able to save money together, that's something you're going to have to explain, maybe file a waiver, right? But this does not mean anything against your spouse. It just means like, look, listen, I don't have these documents that are required of me. We've lived together for 2 years. This is how I can prove it. You get statements from people in your community, okay? And this is the reason why our accounts was closed 3 times. So bring evidence of the closed account, things like that. They want to see sometimes birth certificates. After 2 years, most people, and I've had 2 marriage green card babies at the law firm, actually 3. One of them was like early on, out of the marriages that we help clients with here. So couples come to us, they're single, they're young, and then they get married. 2 years pass, next thing you know, there's a baby, okay? And with that, that's your evidence of real marriage. So birth certificate of your child, definitely stronger evidence than a couple of photos at the park. Okay, that's only okay if you were newlyweds. So for that, make sure you're piling on the evidence. It's not something you can put together after 2 years. From the beginning, the moment you get your green card, just start putting it together and building it until it's time to remove conditions. And so that's why, leading to point number 5, just to end it there and let me get into your questions, is seek legal advice, okay? Legal guidance is important when you're facing complications in your application, such as divorce or even abuse. If you already have your green card, there's a chance you can still keep your green card, but we need to present the application properly, okay? Otherwise, there will just be questions about whether it was a legit marriage to begin with and all of that. So seek legal guidance. We are here at the Marriage Green Card Law Firm. I'm Ify, the main attorney here, helping clients to get free from situations that don't serve them anymore, so they can still have their green card, be able to work and live in the USA freely, and just live their best life. ¿Sí? Gracias.
Sí, muy bien. Entonces, pues eso nos lleva al siguiente punto. Les vamos a dar unos ejemplos de los tipos de evidencia que podrían juntar y desde cuándo. Entonces, es importante que si estás casado por 2 años o menos y tienes una green card temporal, generalmente el gobierno te va a pedir que pruebes récords financieros adjuntos que compartan economía, gastos, si por alguna razón tienes alguna pareja que es adicto a alguna sustancia, que por alguna situación externa no han podido juntar dinero o guardar dinero juntos, es importante recopilar testimonios de la comunidad, vecinos, si estudias o si trabajas, gente que los conozca a ambos. También, normalmente la gente viene aquí casada joven y pues a los 2 años ya tienen un hijo, ¿no? Entonces, tienen un hijo, hay que tener en forma todos los papeles, su certificado de nacimiento, todo eso es una evidencia fuerte de que ustedes realmente estaban juntos por una relación real. Entonces, desde el principio es importante que si ya se casaron, desde el principio empiecen a juntar sus papeles, hagan una carpeta aparte para que cuando llegue la hora de su entrevista para darles su proceso real de la Green Card, ya tengan todo junto. Y lo más importante de todo, busquen asesoría legal. Nosotros aquí en The Marriage Green Card Law Firm y directamente nuestra abogada principal, Ivy, está más que feliz y dispuesta a apoyarles a obtener su libertad para que puedan seguir con su vida y que pues sean mayormente felices en un país libre.
Gracias, Denise. That was a wonderful. I see a lot of questions, so that means this is a topic that a lot of you can relate to. So I'm excited to get into the questions. But if you found value in this live session and you've enjoyed listening to these tips and they've helped you, make sure you share this live with your friends, share our page, follow us. We're coming live weekly, two times a week or more these days. Just coming live to answer your questions, coming live to share tips. If there's breaking news about immigration, you're going to find out. So make sure you follow our channel on YouTube, our page on Facebook. And if you just want that one-on-one time, like I see someone on TikTok, make sure that you're joining our Facebook group, because that's where we do our one-on-ones on Friday, where it's just questions, okay? So join our Facebook group. The links are going to be in my bio, in the comments, somewhere around in the video. You can figure out how to join our Facebook group. I think it's called Green Card Through Marriage, Adjustment of Status, or Consular Process. So just search it up, check it out. Let's get into the questions. Gracias.
Muy bien, únanse directamente a nuestro grupo de Facebook, agradecemos. También ahí van a poder los viernes entrar a la sesión de preguntas y respuestas en directo con nuestra abogada en vivo. Por favor, no duden en tomar la oportunidad y pues enseguida continuamos.
All right, great. All right, I'm going to start with the first one I see here on YouTube. I think, let's see, from Olive Tree. Olive Tree, I like your name. Let's see that one from Olive Tree. Do I qualify? Do I need to notify USCIS of my divorce while I have my conditional green card? Olive Tree, thank you very much for your question. This really aligns with what we're talking about today. The divorce does affect your conditional green card, and you do need to notify the USCIS. If you already, I don't know if you already applied for your I-751 and filed it jointly, and now you're divorced, so you definitely need to notify them at this point in time, because that has changed the whole situation, because your spouse's signature, can't be on the application, right? So this is now turning into an abuse waiver situation. So yes, short answer, you do need to contact the USCIS. Okay. Thank you very much for your question. That was wonderful. All right, let's get another question. I see one here. I think this was from Instagram, Mrs. Rubcast. Thank you for being here. Can I apply for marriage-based green card? We're married since July last year. Okay, came in December, back to USA. My husband is a US citizen. He's in the Army active duty. Can I go back to Poland, or should we apply for green card while I'm here and I wait for the green card? Okay, Ms. Robcast, sounds like you are here in the USA and wanting to adjust your status. There's a lot of in between questions I could ask to figure out exactly if you're qualified to actually adjust or if you need to go back to Poland. And if you're ready to actually stay here for the duration, if you need to be back home, like those types of things. Because generally, you're allowed to adjust your status, except there's any restrictions on your visa, except there's any misrepresentation involved in the situation, except, or if you just came in, got married, all that type of stuff is what we'll consider to determine if you can just adjust and wait here. But for the most part, if you're married to a U.S. citizen, any type of misrepresentation or overstay, you may qualify for a waiver of inadmissibility if those things are preventing you from filing, okay? So I hope that answers your questions. I'm Mrs. Robcast, but you all know I'm here to answer you during a consultation, even in more detail. So my number is on the screen. You can contact me. Let's talk about these particular concerns. All right. Thank you very much. All right. Let's get into another one on Facebook. All right. This is from Ashutosh Patel. Ashutosh. I hope I said that right. So let me know in the comments. Give me a thumbs up if you got your answers, and if you need more help, let me know. If you need, further explanations, we can get into it. Let's see, how much more time do we have here? I think we're still good on time for a little bit. All right. Ashutosh says, my I-130 was approved, and last May, I already submitted my medical because they asked for it, but I don't see the updates. Also, nothing has changed from last update. It's May 16th, second review, but until today, I didn't get anything for I-485. So what's the case for that? I think this is just a simple timeline question. It's simply just processing, except it's past like a certain amount of time in your entire application wait time. There's really nothing to do at this point. You just have to essentially wait and to hear about that. Okay, I see some questions on TikTok. Let me answer one of them. But Ashutosh, thank you for being here and asking your question about that. We'll get into some more that I see from YouTube and Facebook. But let me answer some guys on TikTok here because they've been patient. Muy bien, Denise. At this stage, do you want to? We can really go back and forth about it, or do you want to kind of summarize what's going on right now?
Yes, the question was about if he is already approved, but he's waiting on the last process of it, of a last notification was in May 16, right?
Okay, yes.
Bien. Entonces, pues aquí ya tenemos aprobado una aplicación. La última notificación fue el 16 de mayo. Pertinentemente, aunque no haya una notificación más adelante, el tiempo es importante, lo volvemos a repetir, hay que saber esperar. Entonces, básicamente, cuando ya nos dieron una notificación y que ya fue aprobado y que hay algo más pendiente, perdón, a menos de que haya un tiempo en el general de tu proceso que ya se vea fuera de lo normal, es cuando tomamos el proceso con los abogados, pero hasta ahora es un tiempo normal, un marco de tiempo normal.
Okay, gracias, Denise. I'm going to answer a question on a TikTok, and we have a few more minutes to get through some of them. So after this, if you have questions in Espanol, I think we can just do a Q&A session because it seems like we just need to have that time to answer these questions as they come in. So we could potentially set that up at a different time. But right now, Deep on TikTok says, I have a 10-year green card. We lived 1 year together after coming to the USA. Now she's divorcing me. Is it safe? Deep, I don't know when you joined the live, and I talked about all the different problems that could happen when you divorce with a pending green card. But as far as it being safe, for the most part, if you have a good reason, like I said, and you have bona fide relationship evidence, there's nothing, you're not going to lose your green card just because she's divorcing you. Okay. There's probably a bigger story to that, but usually you don't get divorced. I mean, you don't lose your green card just because of that divorce. Okay. All right. Thank you, Deep, for that question. I'm going to see one here from Jennifer Dawson. I see one from Jennifer Dawson. This is about the fee increase, I believe. Questions about our VAWA fees being waived as of April 1st. VAWA fees. Currently, VAWA form is free, so there are no fees associated with that. I haven't seen that they started adding a fee to it at this point. Well, right now, I-360 by itself is free. The I-485 you generally have to still pay for, and that's what's going up. Okay, I think what's really making it go up is because they're now having to pay for each form individually. And according to USCIS memos, and the reason for this change is to help them improve their, basically improve the efficiency of processing the form. So hopefully this will help with processing times. And Denise, muy bien, let's talk about this because it's quite important to know for VAWA fees.
La pregunta aquí de Jennifer nos está haciendo es si la aplicación para el VAWA está subiendo o se va a quitar también para abril primero. Es importante saber esto, la aplicación I-360 y 360 no tiene costo, que es la aplicación directa del VAWA. La razón del cambio del resto de las formas es porque van a hacer más efectivo el proceso. Entonces, ellos comunicaron que van a aumentar los precios porque así se va a acelerar el proceso de los paperwork.
That was good to know, because form fees going up is a change that has been kind of in the works for a while, but we didn't realize it would really actually happen. So yeah, so thank you for that, Denise. I see another question from Instagram. Yeah, gracias. From Instagram, from Tamara Hills. Tamara says, I filed for VAWA. I just got my biometrics appointment. Unfortunately, my husband passed away last year. Can I change my application to widow, or can I file both concurrently? Ooh. Okay, this is interesting because, well, we have to look at a couple of things. The bona fides of the marriage form, because you're already doing a VAWA, so there was already a separation and all of that. But generally, a widow of a U.S. citizen can file a petition and still get their green card. But because you had a VAWA already, I'm wondering how long has this VAWA been pending? Like, what are the other things that we need to know about your marriage to then qualify you as a widow of a U.S. citizen, or, those types of things. But generally, yes, you could just file as a widow. I think it would be around the same processing time, and you get the same, is going to be the same benefits like a deferred action. It's just like replacing the I-130 essentially. So you can do that for sure, but reach out to my office. Let's talk in more detail. I think I've spoken to you before. Your name looks familiar. So I'm sorry to hear about your loss. So please reach out to me after this live. All right.
Muy bien, entonces un poquito sobre lo que estaban comentando. Esta persona nos pregunta si ya llenó su VAWA, ya tiene un proceso activo, pero actualmente su esposo con quien estaba llenando la VAWA falleció. Lamentablemente su pérdida, pues ahora ya necesita saber si va a poder seguir con su caso de VAWA o si se puede hacer una ciudadana estadounidense como viuda de un ciudadano estadounidense. La respuesta general es sí, pero hay que ver un poco más adentro del caso para verificar cómo está su proceso de VAWA, pero sí, prácticamente no perderías tu estatus por haber perdido a tu cónyuge.
Gracias, Denise, for that explanation. We'll get through a few more questions here. Let's see how much more time we have. Okay, a few more minutes, because I believe after this we have a consultation. Let's see, from Ronnie, Patricia, you choose whichever one that came first. Let's just answer in the order it came in. Let's kind of like go through it like that. And then just get through these ones on YouTube and Facebook, and then the other channels. All right. The ones on TikTok, a lot of people are just kind of like having conversations because I'm looking through the questions trying to figure out, which ones we can answer right now. But let's just, which one are we doing? Ronnie or Rajon? Okay, Ronnie, let's do Ronnie. Okay.
Rajon.
Rajon, okay, Rajon Paul. Rajon says, what will happen if the spouse, who is also the sole sponsor, wants to quit the job? Do we need to inform the USCIS right away? Oh, I see. So you're saying that your I-864 sponsor doesn't earn enough money anymore to support the application. I guess that's what's going on. In that case, well, not right away. You don't need to notify the USCIS right away. Not sure what stage you're at right now, because you might get an RFE for that. So, except you're providing a new, like a joint sponsor, there's really nothing, sending documents to the USCIS when there's no request for evidence can complicate your case. At the most part, you can send it during the interview. You could take all that new information, because they do ask you, do you have anything new to add to this application? At that point, you still have a chance to add things. So that's the answer for that one. And that's muy importante to know, Denise.
Muy bien, entonces pues sería, ¿qué pasa si el sponsor, la persona que va a patrocinar a su cónyuge, quiere renunciar al trabajo que tenía? Entonces, en el caso de que ya no gane suficiente dinero para mantener a su cónyuge, ¿necesitan informar directamente al gobierno? La respuesta general es no, directamente no, porque generalmente si tú metes evidencia sin haber sido requerida por parte de ellos, puede complicar tu proceso, pero si tienes la oportunidad en una entrevista, dependiendo de la etapa en la que esté tu petición, ahí es cuando podrías todavía llegar a hacer un cambio. Pero cuando ya esté en proceso de ser aprobado y ya pasaste por la entrevista, ya no es recomendable llevar ningún papeleo extra.
Sí, gracias. That's Rohan. I hope that's Rajon. I hope that answered your question. Let's get into the next one. I think Ronnie's question is kind of long. I kind of read through it while we're getting through that. It's a two-part question. So Ronnie, you might have to reach out to us for this one, because I think it has something to do with bona fide relationship. Even though you've known your husband since 2020. And you just had a long distance relationship, they definitely need concrete evidence of your bona fides. If everything is fresh, let's see. He proposed, and after that, he decided that he will just stay in the U.S. You got married this year, so you just got married in January, okay? Visa will expire. What's the next part? Well, I guess congrats, right? But what's the next part? See, my concern is, yeah. My concern is our evidence, like lease and utilities, are all fresh. We started living together just after the marriage last month. And my husband does not want to overstay his visa expiring in April. We're planning to get a lawyer for filing too. My question is, when is the best time to file? Ronnie, exactly. Ronnie, now is the best time to file, okay? You're not going to have all the evidence because you're newlywed. The fact that you've known each other since 2020 is great, because you're going to have evidence of your relationship. But, you have 2 years to build all that stuff. Like your lease is going to be 2 years old, or maybe you would have bought a house together in 2 years, or your utilities, you will have evidence that he's on your utility bill and now you've been paying 2 years. So that's why they give you the temporary green card, so you can have the time to actually build these things. That's the whole point of a 2-year green card. Okay, so right now, yes, don't worry about the fact that it's fresh. The fact that you have it is great. It's going to age very soon. And then by that time, because if you wait, even if you wait till April, it's still going to be like 4 months. That's still not, that convincing. Okay, so you're going to get either an RFE, or you're going to get a chance to do this at the time when the removal of conditions, or at the interview. There's going to be a chance to actually submit more evidence that build your relationship. For right now, submit what you have. Get a lot of statements from friends and family. Get a lot of photos. Seems like y'all have been traveling around a lot, have evidence of that. So this is muy importante for marriage-based green card. So if you're filing for your green card through marriage, this is something you should just, know. Okay, so adelante, Denise.
Muy bien, entonces la vista general de esta pregunta sería, ellos ya tienen una relación a larga distancia por varios años, recientemente se casaron, ya se habían visitado anteriormente una vez con una visa de turista. En esta ocasión decidió quedarse y se acaban de casar. Muchas felicidades. Y también es importante que aunque no estemos ya en el punto que queremos de nuestro matrimonio, este es el momento indicado para empezar a llenar tu solicitud, para hacer tu proceso y irte de la mano con un abogado, como nosotros lo hacemos, porque en 2 años se van volando y el proceso a la hora de llegar a la entrevista es muy probable que ustedes ya tengan juntos dinero, que incluso ya tengan un hijo o que incluso hayan comprado una casa juntas. El momento más adecuado de llenar su solicitud es cuando justamente está fresco. Eso no es ningún impedimento y pues adelante.
Gracias, Denise. That was a very good question. Allows us to really get into that marriage green card stuff, because that's what we do here, guys. 90% of the time, we're doing marriage-based green cards, and we can help you figure out these complications because, it is a bit tricky. It can be straightforward sometimes depending on your situation, but it does get tricky, but that's why we're here, all right? So, Ronnie, you're very welcome. Thanks. I'm glad you were here to hear that. So that's good. Let's see. I see some questions on TikTok. We can get into that. I see 1 or 2 more on maybe Facebook, and then after that we can just round up. So in the next couple minutes, 3 minutes. All right, the one on TikTok says, can a green card holder petition for parents? That's a question I get a lot of the times, because a family-based immigration covers parents, children, spouse, even brother and sister in some cases, right? But when it comes to permanent residents, they're a little bit limited with who they can file for, and how the whole thing extends. So when it comes to parents, unfortunately, you have to be a U.S. citizen for that one. So permanent residents can file for parents, but they can file for their children and their spouse. ¿Sí? Gracias.
Muy bien, entonces aquí sería si yo estoy en posesión de una green card, ¿puedo traer a mis padres? Aquí depende mucho del tipo de permiso de green card que te hayan dado. A veces hay opciones de traer familia directa como padres, hijos, incluso hermanos, pero básicamente eso está reservado para los ciudadanos, los residentes permanentes. Una persona con una green card directamente no tiene mucha posibilidad de traer a sus padres.
Gracias, Denise. I think that there's a question on Facebook from B. Lewis, and I think that could be the last one we get into. Is there any other one, any other new one that's popping up? Patricia, let me know. I'm looking on TikTok. I see some of them. Shalom Du Lion, I see a question. Heavenly One, I see a question. We'll do those last, and that will just be it. The rest of you, please reach out to us or join us live tomorrow in our Facebook group, where we're doing one-on-one, just Q&A, straight Q&A, answering your questions. All right, so make sure you join us, and don't forget to book your 50% off consult this month of February. All right, it is a month of love, and we are taking the opportunity to honor our special clients and supporters, just like you all watching me right now, commenting, sharing, and liking. I mean, it's just amazing. Thank you very much. So we want to make sure that you get access to legal service. That's why we have these deals going on every now and then. Okay, so from B. Lewis, final question on here, and then the last 2 on TikTok, and then we're done. Okay. All right. So B. Lewis says, is there a common order of documents approval when filing concurrently? Marriage-based USCIS. You said, okay, because I-130 was approved in I-485 and I-75 status unchanged. Okay. B. Lewis, short answer, no, there's no order in which they approve the applications, all right? It can just happen, it just depends on where you're located, how they're processing it, how it was filed. There's just really no rhyme or reason sometimes for the things that happen, with the USCIS. So that's typical. Usually I-765 will even get approved first, and people enjoy that because now you can work and travel, and you get the travel permit as well. So just be patient. I'm not sure how long you've waited overall, but it does take a while, like 10 months or more. So just be patient. All right.
Muy bien, entonces en cuestión de esta pregunta aquí, ella comenta que ya tiene aprobada su I-130, su I-130 aprobada, entonces realmente lo único que tiene que hacer para esperar en las otras dos formas que están en proceso es ser paciente. Muy bien, y también hacer el comentario que se acerquen directamente, aprovechen nuestro descuento. Este mes estamos tratando de apapachar a la gente que nos apoya, entonces por ahí van a encontrar nuestro link de un 50% de descuento directamente para su llamada de estrategia con nuestra abogada aquí, AIFI, directamente. Tómenlo en cuenta, no lo dejen pasar. Muchas gracias.
Gracias. Okay, so the final questions, I just kind of read them through, and I'm just kind of going to say the gist of it because we're already out of time, but I appreciate you all for asking, so I'm just going to make sure Heavenly One and Shalom get their answer. So Shalom is a U.S. citizen. He has children outside the USA and his wife outside the USA, wondering how they can come visit. And my answer is like, Shalom, you just need to file an I-130 petition, okay? Why they need to come visit you? You're a U.S. citizen. You qualify as a relative, so file the I-130, and they can come in with their green card, okay? Other than that, I know. And then someone else is asking, do I need to live with my girlfriend before filing my after we get married? Well, your living arrangements is really, up to you, but it is best evidence to show that you live together, you're commingled with the person filing your green card, your petitioner. So it's best to have that, but not a requirement. Okay, so those are the two answers to that one. I think we can, actually just end it at that. But gracias, all of you, for being here. Muy bien.
Muchísimas gracias, ha sido un placer. Y nada más para remarcar, al final la última respuesta también fue eso. Es bueno estar viviendo juntos justo después de casarse, no es un requerimiento. Cada pareja tiene su manera de vivir, pero vivir comúnmente compartiendo la casa siempre es una ventaja para su caso. Y muchas gracias, creo que ya ahora sí es todo.
All right. Bye, guys. Hasta luego. See you tomorrow.
Muchas gracias. Talk to you soon and hope to see you here.
Yeah, viernes, right? Tomorrow. All right.
Mañana es viernes. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take the offer, guys.
Oh, yeah, 50% off. Don't forget.